I should do that too.
Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Authors Love Bookstores from a Mighty Blaze. I'm Joe Moldover, and we are so happy to once again be here with you. Today, I am delighted to welcome Ayelet Waldman. Ayelet is the author of A Really Good Day, How Microdosing Made a Mega Difference in My Mood, My Marriage, and My Life, the novels Love and Treasure, Red Hook Road, Love and Other Impossible Pursuits, and Daughter's Keeper, as well as of the essay collection, Bad Mother, A Chronicle of Maternal Crimes, Minor Calamities, and Occasional Moments of Grace. She's the editor of Fight of the Century, Writers Reflect on 100 Years of Landmark ACLU cases, of Inside This Place Not of It, Narratives from Women's Prisons, and of Kingdom of Olives and Ash, Writers Confront the Occupation. Ayelet is joining us to talk about one of her favorite independent bookstores, Brookline Booksmith in Brookline, Massachusetts. And also with us is Lisa Guzashti, who is the co-owner and co-manager of Brookline Booksmith. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Anything for the bookstores. My entire literary career to independent bookstores. If I had to rely on the majors or Amazon, I wouldn't still be writing.
We love our indies. And Lisa, I am lucky that right now I'm sitting about 20 minutes from Brookline Booksmith, and I've been there many, many, many times. But for our viewers who are not so fortunate, we would love to get to know you a little bit better. So a couple of questions. You're located, of course, in Brookline, Massachusetts. What can you tell us about the community you serve?
I can tell you that it's a phenomenal community. It's a very engaged, intellectually curious, thoughtful, interesting, diverse group that is, I think, about 35% Jewish. We have a lot of international folks from all over the world. We have a concentration of Asian folks, but lots of internationals that are here with their families doing research. They come, they stay for 2 or 3 years and pass through, but they bring a lot of richness and depth to the work that we do. And then we have lots and lots of wonderful students who are here for their 4 years at various universities all around the city. And just in general, a vibrantly alive, wonderful population. I always say that our success, which has been quite significant since our founding, is owed directly to the community that we serve. There's no question about that. So we feel very privileged to be planted here in this beautiful realm.
You were founded in 1961, actually as Paperback Booksmith. What is that history?
That history is that in the late 50s, there was a publishing phenomenon whereby paperback started being made readily available. Previous to that, all great literature was in hardbound copies and was much more exclusive and not readily available to the public. So in the late 50s, that phenomenon began, and Marshall Smith and his wife Judy came up with the kind of edgy idea to open Paperback Booksmith to make that wealth available for the first time in an unusual way to the wider public. So they had this incredibly, it was a generous spirit of offering, which we still preside over today, to open up the world of literature, the diverse world of literature, to the public. And they were one of the first bookstores that arranged books by categories and alphabetizing not by publisher but by author, so that to encourage independence, the freedom of browsing, wandering, supporting, engaging with your own intellect, not dumbing down, but saying, you can do this. Welcome, enjoy, find what you wish, do your due diligence, take it, it's yours, own it, and share your ideas with us about what you found, because we've always had a very reciprocal relationship with our public. We learn just as much from them as they learn from us. So that's what they put into place. And that is what we still honor today. So
Lisa, when did you become part owner, and how did that happen? Sorry, Joe, I'm just interrupting.
Go right ahead.
Well, I've been working here since 1999. and I became a co-owner maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I don't even remember, and that's kind of funny. And it's only because I don't care. The fact that I'm an owner is only like, it's incidental, because I love this work so much, and I've loved it so much since the actual first day that I shelved my first book in the store, that it's not about the owning for me. It's just about the privilege of being, you know, in this space and doing this amazing work for this incredible institution. So.
My oldest daughter worked first at a used bookstore in Northampton, Massachusetts, which she loved. She also loved especially that she was allowed to ban one customer a month. She's very crabby and takes literature very seriously. So it was, you know, there were people who she felt like she needed to get rid of. But she then worked at Moe's bookstore in Berkeley, which is a good, it reminds me a little bit of you guys. It also serves an academic community a lot, and it has the same kind of depth of the range of books. And at Moe's, you have to take a test to work there.
Wow.
And they told her that she had one of the highest scores since Jonathan Lethem, which you told us she was very proud of.
Did she obscure her identity?
No, she did not. She did not obscure her identity. She couldn't have, because we've been shopping there for so long. I would have recognized her right away.
Did she work at at Ravens in Northampton?
She did. She worked at the Raven. Yeah. That's so funny.
Great store. It's a great store.
It is.
I love that. I love that story. Lisa, tell us, we're at this moment right now. Brookline Booksmith, everybody should know, is reopening to customers tomorrow, which is very exciting. Also continuing to offer online and curbside. Tell us just a little bit about this moment for your store, about weathering COVID, about what you have done to get through this time, and what it's been like to be a bookseller in spring 2020.
That's such a packed question.
I've
we've been so busy and just adjusting in every moment that I've barely actually been able to put together my thoughts around this. I just get little fragments at the periphery of my consciousness.
Yeah.
Because it really does feel like wartime to me in this, the closest thing that there's just so much displacement, so much lost, so much that can't be recovered. Absolutely. I mean, it's flipping and changing every day, and we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if we're going to go have another lockdown. We have no idea what the future holds. But I would say that it feels, even though it feels sad and weighty, it's also, I feel the momentousness of the work that we do. I feel this, like, the pure flame of this offering that we've always made becoming, you know, finer, because that really the core mission, the core work that we do is to provide a safe harbor, to stand amidst whatever adversity there is and say, we're here to celebrate what humanity has to offer, the best of humanity. That's what we preside over. We are stewards. So we will be here through thick and thin, even if we have to become a stall, which God knows what happens. We'll be that stall, and we'll have that for you. We're going to share those voices. We're going to protect those voices, and we can weather this. You know, so I don't want to say this, but out of line, but I feel like this is the greatest hardship that the store in all of its almost 60 years has ever weathered by far. And that's also a privilege, to be here at this time, to be to carry the load of this, and to hold the values that our founders began with, as close as we're all holding them. But we, you know, we don't know what the future holds. But I feel deeply and strongly that we will get through this, no matter, that we will absolutely emerge, and that it's the proverb that, you know, what doesn't kill us will make us stronger, that we're becoming stronger every day, clearer every day, humbler every day about what the work is that we need to be, that we were called to do, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any observations about what people need from books at this time? What have people been reading? What have people been asking for? What are people interested in at this time?
Another good question. I mean, mostly we're selling the anti-racist curriculum, the core curriculum, those 40 or 50 titles. Some of them have come out of obscurity, you know, books like, you know, from Audre Lorde or Baldwin, older voices that have been studied. They've always been on our shelves, but there's a you know, flood now of the floodgates have opened, so they're pushing forward to meet this much wider audience, which is unbelievably amazing. I'm so proud and so happy to be here at this moment. So that's number one, what folks are wanting, but I feel like as I was just reshifting all the tables today, because for this opening, and I was sort of taking away, putting back on the shelves this sort of fluffier stuff, which the normal summer picks that we would have at this time. Not to remove it entirely, because I certainly wouldn't do that, and there are people that definitely need something lighter, but I feel like the consciousness there's a grave quality, not just for COVID and all the implications of that, where we are politically and what we're facing in the next months, and you know, as far as sustainability just in general for the planet, and then Black Lives Matter, just who are we, what are we, what's the right way forward? It's an essentializing of everything. I feel like there's a stripping down, and people want the real thing. They don't want tons of things, but they want the one or the two real things that they can dig into, commit themselves to, be changed by, and carry forward. That's my belief. And of course, everyone has a bias, and that's where I'm orienting. So I have that, I bring that bias into my perception. But that's what I'm seeing in terms of what people are asking for. I feel that there's been a reckoning for everybody, and people are just, their eyes are open, and they feel uncertain about anything, and so they want to learn. They recognize that they necessarily didn't have the answers. And the other thing that I see the most dramatically is this kind of glib marketing, like, this is the story, isn't it sweet, everything goes like this, you know, that kind of tagline that we've all been automated by, of, you know, consumerism and all of that. Endless growth is been stripped back. So there's a sense of distrust around that, which I have not seen in all my time, in my 21 years here. I feel there's that veneer has worn away. And so people actually, I feel like there's more honest engagement with people, and more that uncertainty that everybody feels is an opportunity for conversation or opening up. Or I can ask, I don't have answers, but I can ask of you, you know, where are you? What's your experience? Help me understand what it looks like to you. Maybe that helps me understand where I am a little bit better, because I sure don't know. I don't know how to make sense of a lot right now. So I feel like there's more dialogue.
It's a great answer. Ayelet, you nominated Brookline Booksmith as our indie bookstore of the week. You, I believe, are coming to us from Berkeley, California, where you usually live. But tell us about your experiences with Brookline when you're on this coast. What do you love about this store? What are your memories of it? What's your experience with Brookline Booksmith been?
We have a lot of great indie bookstores in the Bay Area, and if I could nominate every week, I would nominate so many. It's funny because Jed Smith, who's the grandson, great son, Marshall's son.
Yes.
Wow, so his dad's must have had him old. So Jed is a dear friend of mine, and I could tell you all sorts of hysterical stories about, like, the time he took a fistful of Steve Jobs' birthday cake while Steve Jobs was looking the other way. And yeah.
Wow.
And so Jed,
story.
It was so
exciting. I must say, but
fistful, not even a piece. And so we've known each other for a long time, and when we met, I was really excited to hear that he was the Smith of the Booksmith. I went to law school at Harvard, and I shopped a lot at Brookline Booksmith, even though there are lots of bookstores in Cambridge that one could shop at. But there's just something about, I really like I've always liked forever the recommendations in the store. I've liked the collection of fiction in the store. I feel like I find new things easily. I mean, one of the things, there are bad bookstores. And for me, a kind of bookstores that pushes me away is a bookstore where I walk in and I'm like, I don't know what am I going to read? And I've always had the experience in the best bookstores and at Brookline where I'm like, okay, what do you got for me? And I find, first of all, they're knowledgeable booksellers, which is incredibly important. You can go up to a bookseller at Brookline Booksmith and say, okay, I'm really in the mood for this book that I read 6 years ago. I don't know the name of it, but like some kind of Swedish first name with the author. And maybe it was a Oprah book, Ursula Hagee. Yes, that one. I want something like that, and the best bookstores have, and Brookline has this kind of depth of knowledge, the booksellers do, and they can help you find something that, maybe is like a jumping off point to something new. So I shot there when I was in law school, these many years ago. And I was close to Jed. I did an incredibly great, just a wonderful event for Fight of the Century, which was really sort of in the forefront of my mind when I was making the choice of the bookstores, because one of the things about Brookline is it takes risks. It has a political point of view, which is really important to me. I mean, a bookstore is the heart of a community. It is like the layperson's university. You don't have to be enrolled. Everybody can go there. And Booksmith put this event on with the head of Massachusetts ACLU and us in an offsite theater, which was quite well attended. And it was just this really wonderful event where we talked with, a lot of seriousness and, unflinching honesty about the work of the ACLU through the last 100 years, racism, criminal justice. I mean, it was really, it was an exciting discussion, and it was on such a high level. Sometimes you have to kind of target to your audience, and you don't have to do that at Brookline Booksmith. I mean, your audience is way ahead of you, I remember once doing an event, I don't even remember for which book it was, but some woman in the audience asked me a question about my novel, and I was like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. But yes, now I'm going to say that's what I was planning all along. So, it's the joy of the audience. It's the joy of the booksellers. It's really well organized, which is important. It's appealing. It's a place you want to be in. I mean, I find personally, I like two kinds of bookstores. And they're both sort of in contrast to where I worked as a kid, which was B. Dalton's. I know, God help me. It was the one bookstore in Ridgewood, New Jersey, where, it was a bookstore where you were not allowed to be seen reading, even if you were on break, like no reading allowed by the staff. And so my two favorite kinds of bookstores is, one is the sort of overstuffed, used bookstore with like huge piles everywhere and looks like people are sleeping there, and it's just kind of crazy. And Shakespeare and Company in Paris has a little bit of that feel. They're better organized than you think, but it has that kind of like nooks and crannies. And then the other kind is like a warm and welcoming space with beautifully organized spaces and enough kind of going around so that you can, take a turn and find a new section that's exciting, and a nice children's section, which is less relevant to me now that my kids are grown up. But I know the children's section can be a terrible trial for a bookstore because, sticky hands, toddlers, but you want to make them feel welcome. And that's something that Booksmith does really well. It's like it's a good place for kids to, they feel attached to books when they're there. Mm-hmm. So that's why I chose them. And, there's, like I said, there are a lot of bookstores, but you guys were first in my mind because we'd done this amazing event and because of Jed. And I just thought, great.
Thank you so much.
Great. That's wonderful.
It's amazing.
Lisa, one of the things that people love about independent bookstores are the events. I've been to lots of events at Brookline. Brookline Booksmith puts on, great live events. Is there anything that springs to your mind as an especially moving or exciting or funny or weird event that you could tell us about?
God, there's so many. We have our regular event series, and then we have the transnational event series that Shuchi Saraswat launched a few years ago. So we have there's an incredible wealth there. I would say that right this precise moment in time, the thing that I'm the most moved by is that last August we had a sold out event with Dr. Kendi for how to be an anti-racist. And I had all my friends, everyone that comes out of the woodwork and wants to know me when that event was on sale. And they're like, Lisa, long time no see. Hey, can you get me some of those tickets? You know, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't call me a day before this and try to, anyway, it was so totally sold out like in seconds. And we were super, super grateful and honored to host him. And at that event, we had the provost for the university provost from BU, and she was so blown away by that conversation that she started a series of conversations with him that has led to him coming to BU and heading this anti-racist research department,
Wow.
which is, I believe that, the first in the United States. And
Amazing.
so we're just, we're so happy. I've been getting tons and tons of people saying thank you, to the Booksmith for hosting that event that allowed this felicitous occurrence to happen, because he is thinking very radically and very originally about how to solve this intractable problem. And he wants to do a team effort. So he's creating all of this very interdisciplinary approach that works really well with what BU has already had in place. But I'm just blown away, because we're gonna, as I was saying earlier, we're going to be the beneficiaries of that extra rigor and depth, because he will of course bring many people to participate in that program. And so that dialogue that we've always had with our community, we expect will enliven that much more. So that's one. I mean, there have been others. We had Michael Ondaatje, who came into our store as a customer, just idly browsing, as did Teju Cole. They were both in here browsing separately, and we attacked them and asked them, we discreetly attacked them and asked them if they would join with us in some ways, because sometimes it's very hard to get events, as you may know. There are many authors you would love to have, and the it's a competitive game. So in this case, Michael Ondaatje told his publicist that he was going to have an event with us. They did not make that plan for him, and he figured it out and was we were his first stop from Canada, and he was going to be in conversation with his good friend Teju Cole. So we had a very intimate and incredibly beautiful event at the Coolidge, where they just simply talked as colleagues and deep admirers of one another's work about everything from, film to literature to the state of the world, but in this relaxed and beautiful way, kind of like you and Michael had that lovely conversation recently. I just find that so moving when people are in dialogue together without any necessary purpose, but just for the exchange. I find it so inspiring, and I always learn things.
Michael does that. Michael and Zadie Smith were doing a bunch of events around the country. I think they did like 4 or 5 of them, where they would just do that, and they would never make a plan. They never wanted an interlocutor. They just went up on stage and talked about the things they were reading and the things they were interested in and things that were happening in the world. And they've been my favorite events to see. I just love them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's absolutely the best format. And we're actually opening that up more. That's what we launched this new series called Open Door Sessions.
Right.
And it's of which you were our
Yes.
first. We launched with you.
Yeah, we did.
As it turns out. And that's the premise, which is just open door, no artifice, no plan, just a genuine conversation. And it's a act of generosity from the authors and artists who are willing to do that for us, because it is an ask, but I feel like it's a meaningful way, and it's also pivoting toward the moment where we currently are. It's like the right point for the exact hour that we're in now. So I'm very great. I'm hopeful for that continuation.
We're starting to run down on time a little bit. Lisa, I wanted to ask you one final question. This series, Authors Love Bookstores, is all about our love for independent bookstores and our desire to support independent bookstores. One thing that usually comes through when we speak to managers and owners is how much they love what they do, and that certainly comes through for you. What can you tell us about what is the when did you know that you wanted to be a bookseller? What do you love about being a bookseller?
It's the funniest question. So if my mother were here, she would tell you that she knew that I was going to be a bookseller when I was about 2, because I would always waddle over in my diaper. I'm afraid to say I was still in a diaper at 2. My father built these, was a fine craftsman, and he built these beautiful bookcases in our home out of mahogany. And my mother always tells me, shaking her head with a tisk tisk, that she should have known earlier, because I spent all my waking hours organizing the books on those shelves. It was like, it was the Mecca place for me. I was just always there. And then I from that place became an early reader, and I was always, curled up with a book, and book, books were my greatest refuge and inspiration from that moment on. So it is this weird, often when I'm shelving, and I still shelve, even I'm co-owner, but I still spend a tremendous amount of time shelving. I feel this crazy karma alignment that I've been doing this since I was 2. I've been feeling these books in the palm of my hand. I've been touching this wood. It's like, it's one thing, it looks like it's shelving books, but as we all know, it is this other work of stewardship, and it feels like it's a vocation, it's a calling, and it is participating, as I said before, in the greatest gift that we offer one another. It really is salvation. It's like James Baldwin says. There's a quote that I read recently in a great essay about only a human being can save another human being, which is really the way it lines up. Who knew? But in fact, that is true, and that is what happens to me every time I read a book. I am being saved. Somebody is saving me, and that's why that's why I love this work. There's 1,000 reasons why. But
I love that answer. That's such a wonderful answer. I'm going to squeeze in one more question. I know I'm using up our time, but Ayelet, the audience does want to know what you're reading now.
Okay. So my problem is always that I can remember nothing. I can remember neither the title nor the author. I just read a galley, that's an advanced reader's copy of this book called Gates of something, maybe Gates of Gold, about Israel and Palestine. That was stunningly beautiful, by someone named Rebecca something. See, look, this is my freaking memory.
I'm going to write that down. That sounds really awesome.
Yeah, what's it called?
I don't know, but I'm going to explore it.
Yeah, I'll take a picture and text it to you after. It's a really great novel, and I spent a lot of time doing obviously work in Palestine, and I lived in Israel, and it's the first book, one of the first books. Colm Toivin also had a Cole McCann had a novel that came out last year about the area as well. So those 2 books are the first that I've really seen that are actually managed to get you inside the mind of both Jews and Palestinians in a way that feels really authentic. So that was amazing. I just finished that. I'm making my way. I'm trying to read it as slowly as possible, and as to really earn each page through White Fragility, which I bought a while ago and read, but had not read with the depth that I needed to read it. So now I'm reading that again. I have been listening on audiobook to The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay for the 27th time, reading that book, because we're adapting that for a show at Showtime. So I'm trying to, and it turned so Michael hadn't looked at it for 20 years since he finished writing it. And so he was so funny because he kept saying, wait, I wrote that? That's what happens? So we were listening to it again so we could get it right when we adapt it. And I am actually looking right now I've been very picky about fiction lately in a way that I normally just like read anything. I just kind of gobble it up. And I've been having some difficulty finding a book that feels right for the moment and that attracts my attention. It has to be a strong enough plot to distract me from the news, and it has to be compelling enough characters that feel relevant to this time. So I'm sort of digging around for fiction. So Lisa, if you have anything to recommend, tell me, and I'll order it from you guys.
Okay.
The one thing I want to beg the audience now is you don't have to order my books, whatever, but just right now, if you're in the Boston area and you want to go to the bookstore, great, or order from the bookstore, or if you have an independent bookstore you love, just get a book right now. Just get a book right now. Either order for curbside pickup, or order for it, call up and have it mailed to you, or go to the bookstores that are slowly opening. Wear your freaking masks.
Mm-hmm.
But my whole mask philosophy now is that it's the greatest thing ever because you could tell by looking in their face who's an asshole. But that's like my challenge to you. We spent a half an hour. We love you. You love the bookstores. Go buy a book.
That is the perfect note for us to wind down on, and it is true. Brookline Booksmith opens tomorrow. If you're nearby, do wear a mask. If you don't want to go, order online or do curbside pickup. Information is online at brooklinebooksmith.com, and we've been with Lisa Gozashti, the co-owner and co-manager. We're so appreciative of your time and of your store and of everything that you do. And we are also appreciative of Ayelet Waldman. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Listeners,
anything for a bookstore.
Absolutely. And listeners, go to ayeletwaldman.com. Check out Fight of the Century. Writers reflect on 100 years of landmark ACLU cases and all of Ayelet's other work. And I guess keep an eye out on Showtime for the upcoming amazing.
It'll be a while.
It'll be a while.
Like, I'm not shooting a TV show until there's a vaccine.
Okay. So
I'm not going to put my actors at risk until we know nobody's going to die.
Fair enough. At some point, that's something that we will all enjoy together. Everybody, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So, thanks so much for doing this, Joe. It's a real service.
We love it. Thank you.
Thank you, both.
Everybody in the audience, thank you. Stay well. We will see you next week. Until then, keep reading.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.